Hello and welcome. I am Pranay Upadhyay and you are watching Namaste World, your daily window into the biggest stories shaping India and the world. On today's show, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi rolls out red carpet for Russian President Vladimir Putin, New Delhi faces a stark dilemma: Russian oil or the US trade deal? Can India truly have both? Also on the show, Pakistan is on the brink once again as chants of Imran Khan's freedom echoes across cities. This comes after his sister, Dr. Uzma, was finally allowed to meet him inside Adiala jail. All of this and much more lined up for this edition of Namaste World. We begin with the top story of the day, a major strategic boost for India even before President Vladimir Putin's aircraft touches down in New Delhi. Russia's lower house of parliament, the Duma, has ratified a crucial military pact with India, setting the tone for a high-stake two-day visit for Russian president. The agreement is called RELOS, short of reciprocal exchange of logistic support. It was cleared on Tuesday after Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin sent it to Duma last week, and it marks a powerful upgrade in India-Russia defense cooperation. In simple terms, it lets military aircraft, ships, and personnel from both nations use each other's bases and military facilities for joint exercises, training, and humanitarian operations, and during disaster relief operations. The pact even grants access to each other's airspaces and ports, including warship visits and aircraft overhauling. That opens a critical strategic door for India's entry into Arctic region, where Russia maintains an extensive military infrastructure and a growing geopolitical footprint. The timing of this ratification, hours before President Vladimir Putin's arrival in India, sends a clear signal. The India-Russia defense partnership isn't just steady, it's accelerating. And this pact ensures that future cooperation will be more agile, more flexible, and more strategically aligned than ever. Now, as New Delhi rolls out a red carpet for Russian President Vladimir Putin, India faces a sharp diplomatic test: Russian oil or a US trade deal. Russia is arriving with a big demand and bigger expectations, even as Washington's pressure New Delhi on tariffs and energy flows. So can India hold its cheap Russian oil, safeguard its defense ties, and still secure a breakthrough with the United States? All at once? Our next report tells you more.
When Prime Minister Narendra Modi sits down with Vladimir Putin this week, New Delhi faces one of its toughest diplomatic tests yet: Russian oil or the US trade deal. Can India really have both? The December 4th to 5th Modi-Putin summit isn't just another bilateral meeting. It's a moment loaded with pressure, choices, and strategic calculations. At the center of it, India's energy security, defense partnerships, and the ever-changing geometry of global sanctions. For Moscow, this visit is tactical. Putin is expected to land with a power-packed delegation. The bosses of Sberbank, Rosoboronexport, and the sanctioned oil giants Rosneft and Gazprom Neft. A clear message from the Kremlin. Russia wants bigger deals, deeper access, and India firmly in its corner. According to industry sources, Russia will ask India to help secure spare parts and technical equipments for its oil sector, supplies it can't buy from the West anymore due to sanctions. But the real geopolitical spark comes from the United States. As India negotiates tariffs and trade terms with Washington, Moscow is watching and pushing. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov dismissed the US-India tariff tensions as a bilateral issue. Peskov doubled down, calling Western sanctions illegal, insisting Russian oil flows will recover, and promising that Putin's visit will boost Indian exports to Russia.
So what is important that we have managed to ensure the growth of our trade volume for more than $63 billion. It's overall trade volume. It's quite significant, but the potential is much more higher. And we do hope that before 2030, we'll be able to reach a horizon of $100 billion. And what is very important, we have to organize our trade volume and our trade interaction in the way that cannot be affected by third countries.
Defense continues to be the steel frame of the India-Russia relationship. India's backbone fighter force, the Sukhoi 30 fleet, remains Russian-made, and Moscow is now dangling an even bigger carrot, the Su-57 stealth jet. Officials say the offer is on the table for this week's talks. There's more. India operates 3 units of the S-400 air defense system, with 2 more pending delivery. New Delhi has made it clear India has no intention of scaling back defense cooperation with Moscow. Oil may fluctuate, trade may shift, but defense, that bond is rock solid. So here's the real question. As Putin arrives in Delhi, can India balance cheap Russian oil, crucial defense deals, and a high-stakes trade negotiation with the United States, all at the same time? Washington wants India closer. Moscow wants India committed. And India wants strategic autonomy without choosing sides. The Modi-Putin summit may just reveal how far that balancing act can go and how long it can last. Bureau Report, India Today Global.
Now let's talk about Pakistan. Pakistan faces a Taliban insurgency it can no longer contain, with borders on fire and its army stretched to the breaking point. Amid this crisis, Islamabad may be eyeing a way to pull the United States back into Afghanistan, leveraging recent events in regaining strategic influence. Could this be a moment for Pakistan to use Washington to tip the balance in its favor? Find out more in our next report.
A shooting just blocks from the White House. 2 National Guardsmen attacked, 1 dead. The gunman, an Afghan who once worked for the CIA. President Trump's response was swift, ending immigration from Afghanistan and deploying 500 more troops to guard the capital. But there's a deeper game at play here. The attacker, Ramanullah Lakanwala, came to America under a program protecting Afghans who helped US forces. He had been vetted by the CIA since 2011. How did this happen? Here's where Pakistan enters the picture. Back then, much of the intelligence feeding American operations came from Pakistan, traded in exchange for US strikes against Pakistani Taliban leaders. It was a cozy arrangement until it wasn't. When Trump withdrew from Afghanistan in 2021, those famous images of Afghans clinging to departing planes weren't just about American failure. They were Pakistan's victory lap. The ISI chief literally celebrated with tea at Kabul's Serena Hotel. But that triumph has turned into a nightmare. Today, Pakistan is hemorrhaging. The Afghan Taliban, once Islamabad's proxy, has become its enemy. Since 2021, 4,000 Pakistani soldiers are dead, 20,000 injured. The tribal areas are in revolt. Pakistan has launched 67,000 military operations. 67,000, and it's not working. The violence is the worst in a decade. 30 security personnel die every month. The border is on fire from north to south. The Taliban calls the Durand Line fictitious. They've closed trade routes. Pakistani produce rots unsold while businessmen beg for the border to reopen. Islamabad tried airstrikes. Kabul hit back harder. A full invasion? Suicidal. So Pakistan needs someone else to do the heavy lifting. Someone with money. Someone with power. Someone like the United States. For years, the war on terror pumped billions into Pakistan. Unaccountable funds flowing to generals. Those taps are now dry. Pakistan has tried luring Saudi Arabia and Qatar into mediating. But what it really wants is America back in the game. Back in Afghanistan, with Pakistan once again playing the indispensable middleman. This Washington attack? It might just be the catalyst Pakistan needs. a prod to get Trump reinvested, even if only from Pakistani soil. The tribal areas are alienated, the army is stretched thin, and Rawalpindi is running out of options. Getting Trump entangled in Afghanistan again is not just strategy. For Pakistan, it's survival. With Debangna Datta, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
As Pakistan reels from protest and political unrest, the nation faces a tense standoff. Imran Khan's freedom or a deeper crisis? His sister finally met him under heavy security. Yet, streets and parliament alike demand answers. Can Pakistan navigate this turmoil without sparking further conflict? Our next report tells you more. Here's the full story.
Free Imran, free Imran. From Pakistan's parliament to Islamabad High Court, to Rawalpindi's Adiala jail, to the streets defying Section 144. The demand is the same, the release of the former Prime Minister.
पहुंचने वाले पहुंच गए और इस्लामाबाद में भी 2 घंटे हम घूम कर यहाँ पहुंचे। फसाई हुकूमत की पतलून गीली हो गई है डर के मारे। हमारा इनका ख्याल ये था कि इमरान खान के चाहने वाले तक जाएंगे, हम तकने वाले नहीं है। खान को रिहा कराएंगे इंशाअल्लाह।
After weeks of uncertainty, a rare breakthrough. Imran Khan's sister, Uzma Khan, was finally permitted to meet him inside Adiala jail. But her visit was heavily barricaded and policed, and offered little calm to the protests sweeping the nation. There's some relief though. Pakistan and the world finally have an answer that the former Prime Minister is very much alive and safe.
सेहत अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह ठीक है, मगर ज़िंदगी वो उन्होंने बड़े गुस्से में थे, कहते हैं कि हमें ये मेंटल टॉर्चर कर रहे हैं और सारा दिन कमरे में बंद, थोड़ा सा बाहर जो निकल सकते हैं, कोई किसी से कम्युनिकेशन नहीं, कहते हैं ये आसिम मुनीर जिम्मेदार है, ये सब कुछ हो रहा है।
Since November 4th, no family member, no lawyer, no aide has met him inside Adiala jail. No image, no video, no official assurance of his well-being. And while Islamabad grapples with spiraling unrest, the political earthquake is shaking Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
अगर इन्होंने कल लगाना है तो आज लगाए, परसों लगाना है तो कल लगाए। खैबर पख्तूनख्वा में एक ही राज है, वो इमरान खान राज है।
Multiple PTI ministers, including Mashal Yousafzai, warned the federal government any move to impose governor's rule in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa will be treated as a direct attack on democracy.
मैं तो इनको ये जॉइंट सेशन ये सारे फॉर्मेलिटीज पूरी करने की जरूरत भी नहीं है। कल नहीं आज लगाए गवर्नर राज, आपको लग पता जाएगा कि खैबर पख्तूनख्वा में किसका राज चलता है।
Imran Khan remains behind bars, his voice unheard, his freedom blocked, but the nation is still speaking out. From the streets to the courts, from worried families to bold ministers, one question remains. Is his imprisonment Muni's revenge? And is his freedom even possible? Bureau Report, India Today.
As a Bangladeshi court sentences UK Labour MP Tulip Siddiq in absentia, the controversy is mounting. No evidence, no proper trial, and no extradition treaty with the United Kingdom. Siddiq, part of Bangladesh's most prominent political family, calls the verdict flawed and farcical. Can she challenge the ruling and protect her family's legacy from afar? We take a closer look.
Tulip Siddiq, a prominent Labour MP in the UK, has hit back hard at a Bangladesh court ruling that sentenced her to 2 years in prison, calling the entire process flawed and farcical. And she's not mincing her words. Siddiq wasn't even in Bangladesh during the trial. And with no extradition treaty between the UK and Bangladesh, it's highly unlikely she'll ever serve the sentence. So what exactly happened? A court in Dhaka ruled that Siddiq used her special influence as a British MP to push her aunt, former Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, into approving land transfers to Siddiq's mother, brother and sister. Siddiq's mother, Sheikh Rehana, was handed a much harsher 7-year sentence and labelled the main accused. The entire case was heard in absentia. Not Hasina, not a single family member was present. Even the lawyers who tried to represent them said they were threatened and blocked from defending the accused. Hardly the picture of due process. The Labour Party in the UK has rejected the verdict outright, saying it cannot recognise this judgment since Siddiq wasn't properly informed of the charges and was denied any opportunity to defend herself. Siddiq herself says the ruling deserves the contempt it deserves.
I'm absolutely baffled by the whole thing. I've still had no contact whatsoever from the Bangladeshi authorities, despite them spreading malicious allegations against me for a year and a half now. I've tried to be responsible. I've engaged lawyers here in the UK who have repeatedly written to the Bangladeshi authorities, but they haven't responded. I then tried to engage a lawyer in Bangladesh itself who went and tried to find out what was happening in court. They intimidated him and threatened him, and he withdrew. I then wrote to the leader of Bangladesh currently, who is Professor Mohammed Yunus, when he came to London, who has said publicly a few times that I'm guilty and had tried to smear my reputation. So I said to him, okay, let's sit down, let's have a coffee and let's talk about what I've done wrong, because I know I haven't done anything wrong. He declined to meet me. So there's been absolutely no summons sent to me. There's no charge sheet. I've had no correspondence from them. I'm not difficult to find. I'm a parliamentarian. All they had to do is send some papers to the House of Commons, to Parliament, and I would have responded. So I feel like I'm in some sort of Kafka's nightmare where I'm carrying on doing my day job, but on the other hand, I'm apparently being convicted in Bangladesh, and the only reason I know I'm being convicted is because I read it in the newspapers. So this is trial by media, which is deeply unfair. I've looked very carefully at the allegation against me because there were so many allegations that I wanted to see specifically this allegation. And I don't know how much you've looked into it, but I looked into it properly. The allegation that I've been convicted for states that when I was an opposition member of parliament here in Britain, used my political influence over my aunt, who was then the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, to convince her, or I suppose force her, to allow my mother, who is her sister, to purchase a plot of land in some random place in Bangladesh. So just to step aside from what's happening and just to look at the allegation itself for a minute, which is that I exerted influence over the Prime Minister of Bangladesh as an opposition MP here in Britain to gain some benefit for my aunt, for my mother, who is her sister. Now, my aunt is twice as old as me. She is 10 times more powerful than me, and she has been in politics longer than I've been alive.
But who is Tulip Siddiq, and why has she become the centre of such a political storm? 42 years old, Tulip Siddiq has been a Labour MP since 2015, representing Hampstead and Kilburn, and now Hampstead and Highgate. She is currently the Economic Secretary to the Treasury in the UK's Labour government. She is also part of Bangladesh's most well-known political family. Her mother is Sheikh Rehana, sister of Sheikh Hasina and daughter of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, Bangladesh's founding leader. Rehana and Hasina survived the brutal 1975 coup only because they were out of the country. Rehana later rebuilt her life in the UK under political asylum. So why was Siddiq tried at all? Bangladeshi prosecutors claim she contacted senior officials in Hasina's office to secure valuable land for her family, saying she made calls, sent messages, and even traveled to Dhaka. But no hard evidence was presented, only statements from two former officials. Siddiq denies everything, saying she hasn't held a Bangladeshi passport since childhood and is being targeted because of the political campaign against the Hasina family after their fall from power in 2024. For now, Siddiq says she's focused on her constituents and refuses to be distracted by the dirty politics of Bangladesh. With Imran Khan, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
And now it's time for a quick wrap-up of today's top stories from around the world. The Indian rupee fell to an all-time low of 90.2 against the US dollar on December 3rd, pressured by punitive US tariffs and weak capital inflows. Economists say uncertainty over India-US trade deal added to the currency decline. The search for Malaysian airline flight MH370 will resume on December 30th, over a decade after Boeing 777 vanished en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing in 2014. Exploration firm Ocean Infinity will conduct 55-day of seabed operation in areas with the highest chance of finding the plane debris. The search in central Sri Lanka continues after deadly cyclone Ditwa triggered landslide, killing 410 people in the worst flood in a decade. Authorities are clearing roads and searching through mud and debris to locate the missing 336 people. So that's a wrap on this edition of Namaste World. For all that, latest updates and exclusive ground reports on Putin's grand visit to India, subscribe to India Today Global.